Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome back to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I have an egg. A raptor egg. Because it is Dino-Mania.
And it's running wild like those raptors.
And I am Pepper.
That is true. He is Pepper.
Yes. And you may be wondering why we are sitting so far apart. And that is to show you these 3 dinosaur-themed games.
Yes.
Because today we are doing a triple threat chippy for dinosaur-themed games. And that is Dinosaur Island, Dinosaur World, and Dinogenics.
Yes.
Some might call it a Triceratops chippy.
That is true. Some might call it that. And I think that's what we were going with. I was going to let you say the name because I wasn't really sure what we were calling it. It was something along those lines, but yes, we are doing the Triceratops CHIPPI review of these 3 games, which I think 2 of them have kind of been compared because they came out around the same time and had those similar themes, which were the Dinogenics and the original Dinosaur Island. But we're also throwing in there now the Dinosaur World to kind of give our thoughts on some different areas. If you haven't watched a chippy that we've done before, it's just kind of some core areas of our rating scale to come out with how we rate our games, what they end up being as a number.
Yeah. And who knows, I mean, whatever the final numbers end up being, maybe that's not what we would think they would turn out to be. Maybe we feel we have a preference towards one of these, but maybe the numbers will show differently.
That is true. But yeah, let's get into it.
That's always the best sign of a review, when it's not even at all what you think.
Right. But yeah, I think we'll get into them and kind of go over that category and talk about all 3 of them, and then just kind of quickly give our rating in each of those categories, and then do an overall.
Yeah.
So, right off the bat, for C, we've got core mechanisms, or core mechanics, however you prefer to say it. But yeah, if we're starting off with, I don't know, we'll start off with Dinosaur Island, maybe, because that's the first one we owned.
Yes, so it's actually pretty early into the gaming, so it was probably one of our first worker placement games, and I think it handles the worker placement really well. I like the 3 phases, or is it 3 or 4?
I think it's 4 phases.
4 phases to the game. You kind of have a little worker placement, getting DNA and dinosaurs, some more for different attractions, and hiring assistants. And then you have a worker placement in your own park, your facilities, and then you actually have a phase running guests through your... Oops, knocked over the egg. Mama Raptor not going to be happy.
No, she is not.
But yeah, then you actually have guests come into your park and visit and hopefully don't get eaten.
Right.
Yes. So I don't know if we've ever played a game that kind of broke up the worker placement into so many different phases. I really enjoy that part of the game.
Yeah, I would agree. I really like how that system worked, because it made it very clear as to step by step which one you were going in. Even the boards had like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 on them, so you knew which one you were working at on each specific time, and they all felt slightly different, but also all came together and worked together very well. I think that was probably the main thing with that one. That one also had one of the things you're doing, but potentially are taking, in the first phase, taking some DNA from some dice or some other possible rewards, and those dice have some threat symbols on them, so you can get some temporary threat depending on if none of the players pick certain ones and they have a certain amount of pips on them. Everyone will be getting that threat, so I found that to be another unique thing that they used in that.
Yeah.
But I think the main one is the worker placement, and a couple different ways it works on both the phase 1 board, where everyone's kind of got the same same options, and everyone's got their own board.
Yeah, and kind of different valued workers as well. They kind of multiply different things.
Right. Yeah.
I guess, you want to jump to the one that is similar to it?
We'll do just similar.
Yeah,
Go right to that.
We'll go, top to bottom. We'll do that throughout the video.
Mm-hmm.
Onto Dinosaur World, which is kind of a reboot in a way of Dinosaur Island. So they are very similar in the way they work. I think that breaks it up into a few phases as well. Kind of going out and getting things to put into your park, and then coming back and activating the park. So it kind of follows that similar aspect there. I think they feel pretty similar in that I don't think it loses anything there. I think there's one thing that is different is the Jeeple tour in this one, where you, instead of just kind of getting a number of guests and
pulling them out of a bag
in your park and getting coins for however many, you actually take a Jeeple tour of your park to activate the different tiles, which I guess that's kind of the same as in the lab in the Dinosaur Island. It's just because I think there's no in the lab type phase in Dinosaur World.
That's true.
So I guess it kind of replaces that, where you're activating.
But you sort of still have it because you're putting those meeples out on those actions that starts your that board. So you have those actions, but they kind of take. I mean, this happens first, but it kind of is simultaneous because it happens, I think, right after that. So they're kind of combined because you do use some of those workers as well to activate some of the tiles. So I would agree that a lot of it's very similar. But the major differences are the Jeeple tour, and also in this one. So the first in Dinosaur Island, you're potentially adding new paddocks for dinosaurs, which are just rectangles. Otherwise, you take up like 2 rectangle spaces. Otherwise, you take or buy like exhibits that take up 1, and you have the same park every time. It's just you're filling up the what is it, a 4x4 grid or something?
It's kind of like Agricola or something, where you just have this board of spaces that you fill.
Whereas in Dinosaur World, you're able to take these hexagon tiles and kind of place them out adjacent to previous hexagons you've played, and that's what you take your Jeeple tour on. So that's a big difference, I think, from Dinosaur Island to that one.
It matters where you place it in this one, not just what you place, but where you place it and what it's connected to. That's a big difference.
Because that and the kind of to go with the Jeeple tour, that excitement is a unique thing that I don't know if I've seen before, where every time, I mean, I'm sure it seems like something that's probably been in games where every time you do a certain thing, it kind of gets weaker.
It's probably something that's in something, but you just can't think, you don't think of it.
But so each time you go through the T-Rex exhibit, it gets less exciting for the people. So I really like how that part of it works, I think so. But there's a lot of similarities, but
the actual workers as well. You, instead of just having a set amount of workers, you have you're drafting different pools of workers, with different colors that all give you unique bonuses, which I really like as well.
I like that as well, because it's if you use like you said, if you use certain ones for certain actions, you get bonuses, but you can still kind of, I think for most of the things you can still use other ones. You just either don't get a bonus, or it maybe costs 2 versus costing 1. Things like that. So you can typically make things work with that. But I would say the only thing with that part 2 is that sometimes you have to really kind of plan what you're going to use each one for, because those tiles that you're putting out sometimes require one, and sometimes you forget about those. Because if you're going to go through that space with the Jeeple, you need to have that worker color there. So if you don't have that left over, you're kind of in trouble.
Then on to the third game, Dinogenics,
which is a bit different. It's still a worker placement game.
Yes, still worker placement. I feel this feels the most classic worker placement.
It does.
There's just a bunch of different actions on the main board, and you go out and you do that stuff. It just really feels and looks like something like Stone Age, just regular actions on the board.
Right, and they're pretty much never changing. There's an event card that happens each turn, which can maybe affect some of the actions, which is cool. I think that that's sort of a unique thing. I don't know if I've seen that. I'm sure that seems like another thing that's been in the game, but I'm not really sure. But yeah, those effects usually affect one of the spots.
Yeah.
And either close it off or make it better for you the round or something like that. I really like how that works. It's a cool thing that happens there. But yeah, I would say that overall it's a very classic worker placement feeling game. And then you do have a park board again, kind of like I would compare it to the Dinosaur Island one, where it's the grid again of like a 4x4, I think. I don't remember if it's 4x4 or 5x5 or whatever it is, where you're going to be filling it in with dinosaurs. And then you have some spaces for buildings as well. So
I would say compared the other one to Agricola, I would compare this one to Converna, because this one actually has two sides to it: the cave and the thing, and the parking lot and the park.
That is very true. I did not think about those comparisons until right now, but those are very much right on the nose, I think, for those two games.
Yeah. So this one, it's kind of. The kind of placement of things is probably in between the two of them, where Dinosaur Island, it doesn't really matter where you place in your park. Dinosaur World, it really matters because you're going to be going on a tour with your Jeeple. And in Dinogenics, it is probably right in between. There's not really anything that works with adjacency, or there's not a path you're going through, but with the way dinosaurs can rampage, it can matter what they have access to and what other dinosaurs that they're next to, type of thing. So it's kind of right in between there, and I think feels different from the other two. And another thing is the way you get the dinosaurs.
More of a set collection of cards.
Of cards, yes. So. Where in both the other two, I don't know if we mentioned it for Dinosaur World, but that's pretty much the same thing, trying to get
set collection
DNA types. Different DNA to build the dinosaurs, where in this one it's just like T-Rex, you need 4 T-Rex cards, and then you can go to the build a dinosaur spot and lay down your 4 cards, and you can place a dinosaur in your park, which is probably the biggest difference, I would say, between the games. And I think even though it seems like that would be simpler and more luck-based, I think it felt refreshing, just because I was so used to getting the DNA, and that's a little more crunchy, and this one's a little simpler. You don't have to put as much thought into that.
I would agree. I'd agree 100%. That's kind of the way I felt with it as well, with those cards. Is a simpler thing, but still something about it felt refreshing, even though I don't know that it really is.
Yes.
But
like it feels like it should be a step back, but it actually wasn't plain.
But yeah,
and also another thing is the cards that you can use that can be take that cards, but even if they're not, they are very powerful cards that you can play and get 12 money or something, or kill a dinosaur in someone else's park, or kill a dinosaur in your park and place dinosaurs out, and the mutants out equal to the cost. Like if it costs 4 cards to get that dino, you get 4 mutants. I know we did that in the playthrough. I did that.
Check out the playthrough if you want to see that, and also want to see that rampaging.
Yes.
Definitely check our playthrough out, because there was definitely some of that in one of our parks.
Yes. And I think that's probably the next biggest difference in this one, is that the rampaging can really get out of hand in this one versus the others, where the others is just check your threat and check your security, and whatever difference you get some casualty tokens. But this one, you roll some dice. If the dinosaurs aren't happy, and maybe they'll claw, take out a fence, exposing more dinosaurs
potentially
to rampage and kill visitors, losing you points, getting you scandal tokens that are worth -6, which is huge
in the game. There's not really a way to get rid of a ton of scandal tokens.
No.
So it can be. You can check that out in the video as well. Someone may have gotten almost all the scandal tokens, and it may have been me, but you'll have to check that out.
All the papers falling from my clipboard.
So I guess for scores, if you're going top to bottom here, what did you have for the core mechanisms?
I have Dinosaur Island at an 8.75, Dinosaur World at a 9.25, and a Dinogenics at a 9.
Okay. It's pretty similar to what I have. I had 8 for Dinosaur Island, 9.5 for Dinosaur World, and an 8.5 for Dinogenics. So yeah, I think they're all very solid. They have very good systems, and they all actually are pretty. I mean, the Dino World and Dinosaur Island have some similar things, but they're all have some unique things about them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we'll get into our history, which is a quicker one. It's just kind of the number of times we've played it. So this is kind of just a little thing to give, once we've played more, a little bit more of a boost.
Should be the easiest to make, but we actually struggle a little bit with how many times we've actually played them.
Sometimes it seems like you've played a game more than you really have, because like for Dinosaur Island, I don't know. It could have been 10 plays, because that's kind of what we maxed it at for full point. I put 9 plays in there, and then I had 3 for each of the other 2.
I had 9 for Dinosaur Island as well, 3 for Dinosaur World, and 6 for Dinogenics, because I played that one a few times solo as well.
Okay. So, yeah. So take that with a grain of salt, too. We've only played these 2. Well, you've played this one a little bit more with solo, but I've only played these 2 a little, or about a third of the times I've played Dinosaur Island. But that's probably because we've had Dinosaur Island about a year or so longer than the other 2, maybe longer than that even. So, there's that.
A couple years.
Then we get into investment. So that's kind of the time commitment to the game. If the game feels like it goes on too long, setup,
gameplay, kind of replayability as well, what you get out of it.
Right. And starting with Dinosaur Island, I think that one takes a little bit to set up. It's not awful. I think it's easy to know where the items go when you're setting it up, but it still does take a little bit of time, and the storage in the box is not great. You made yourself sort of a little insert. It's still not
better insert than it was, which is I think it's actually the Bunny Kingdom in the Sky expansion. I took that insert and put it in there, and that actually works better than what came in the box. So there's a tip if you have both of those.
But yeah, so I would say that probably is what makes it tough, is like the insert itself. There's not really a great way to sort the stuff.
Trying to fit all those tiles in there, and that
I'm not sure
you can't put them into perfect stacks separated perfectly, and
there's quite a bit of stuff in the box. So even if you like bag stuff, I still don't know if it would go in there very well. So I think that one hurts that a little bit. But yeah, overall the game arc I think feels like it's kind of building up the whole time. I don't think it ever feels like it's going on too long. And you have the ability to, so some of the end game cards are short, medium, long, so you can kind of adjust the length of the game too, so that it doesn't feel like it's going on too long. If you want, you can make it a shorter one. I don't know that. I think we've basically pretty much played the medium or longer, and it never seems like it's too long, so I feel like the short might be too short, but I guess I haven't really looked at those too much. I agree with you pretty much on that. I don't know. And I think the same thing for Dinosaur World. That might, and maybe it's just because I've played it less too, and if we sorted the things in there, it might be a little bit. But I know when I went back for that third play with Michaela, I was looking at the tiles and all the stuff, and I'm like, this is very, very overwhelming to set up.
It doesn't, like, they fit in there good, but they fit in there just right to the top. And like I said, I wish that you could just take these tiles, put them there. But with the way it is, there's more tiles of some type than the other, so you're going to have to mix in the stacks. At least I haven't found a way to have it perfectly separated right to where you can be like, okay, we need these tiles, grab them. It's always going to be a little mixed and a little separating to do at the beginning of the game.
Right. And we got the all-in of this, and came with the expansion, so that came with some tiles as well. So then there's even more tiles in there. So then it's like making sure to not include those possibly, and keeping those separate. And it makes it. When we were setting it up, I was like, oh gosh, this is a little overwhelming.
Yeah, I think that it is. It's more overwhelming than Dinosaur Island. I think here's probably another part of investment is you're going to need a gigantic table for both of those.
Oh, yeah.
We thought you'd need a gigantic table for Dinosaur Island, then we played Dinosaur World, and I think that's even more of a table hog.
Because you're building out your own little park with those hexagon tiles, and those hexagon tiles
huge.
Are pretty big as well.
Yes.
So yeah, this takes up a lot of room. We only played it 2-player maximum, and it still takes up our whole table, and we have a pretty big table.
Yes.
So yeah, both of them take up quite a bit of room, but this one, like the other one, I really like the game arc. This one, I think, feels even better because you're kind of setting yourself up for maybe some bigger point moves at the end with your Jeeple tours, kind of setting up those tiles and more excitement maybe. So I really like the way this one ramps up towards the end.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it's a little more overwhelming, like you said, which probably gives Dinosaur Island the edge, but I think there's a little more payoff in there, and it's a little more rewarding.
Yeah,
and
I would agree on
replayable.
that.
Yes.
I would agree on that. Then we get into the Dinogenics.
Dinogenics. I think this is probably the most approachable of the three. It's because it is just more basic worker placement. You just have one main board. You don't have this huge board, this huge board, this huge board. Put all these tiles here, these tiles there. It's a lot more simplified setup. And the insert is great in the game box. You can just put the dinosaurs here, the scandal tokens here, these tiles there. So that really helps with setup. It's by far the best insert of the three, I would say.
Which I would say didn't take much,
No.
but yes, it is a lot better than the other two.
A lot more breathing room, I would say.
Yeah, and just setting it up and stuff takes a lot less time, and you still get a great experience throughout.
Yeah.
So if we just get to the scores, I'm giving this one Dinosaur Island an 8, then Dinosaur World an 8.5, and then Dinogenics a 9. So kind of scaling up, and like you said, I think this one's tougher to get maybe to the table because of that setting up and stuff. But I like you said
get
too,
more out of it.
You get more out of it, and I've played it less, so I'm like, well, maybe once that gets to 9 plays, I would feel more comfortable setting that one up. So that's why I got a little bit of an edge over Dinosaur Island there.
Yeah. I ended up giving it an 8 here, an 8 here. I think they kind of offset with their kind of replayability here and variability versus their setup being a little easier. And I also gave Dinogenics an 8 as well. So 8 across the board. I think Dinogenics might not be as replayable as Dinosaur World. There's not as much customization, I don't think, in that one.
That's true.
But it is a lot easier to set up, I would say. And now that I was thinking of the insert and setup, it probably deserves a little higher score. So to tie break, I will give Dinogenics the win in that category.
Okay. Yeah, so then we get into the presentation, which is a little tougher of a category because these are some better looking games in our collection, better components and stuff. Starting with the Dinosaur Island. I think initially when we first had this game, and maybe not the other ones, this might have been a higher amount for me. What I end up scoring this one now, but yeah, it's got the pink. I think this isn't the Kickstarter version, which I think they originally had some more different shapes. We just got the one with the pink Triceratops for all the dinosaurs. I think now they're even selling one with 3 different ones now. But yeah, so those are pretty cool. I like the look of it.
Pretty cool. Those
I like
are
the box.
Great.
I like the box cover.
Here's a throwback Thursday. Go back and watch our top 10 components in games video. We did that quite a while ago. And those dinos did make an appearance on someone's list.
Yeah, so I do like them quite a bit. And I like the artwork in the game. I like the cover.
Retro look.
The retro look. I know there's some people that don't like that look as much. I think I like the workers with the cowboy hats on them, little meeples. And yeah, I think it's just a pretty solid production. You said the insert isn't great, so that dings it a little bit. But yeah, it's looking at it now though, compared. We'll get to Dinosaur World.
But yeah, I agree. The amber dice are phenomenal.
Oh yeah, the amber dice as well.
The bag is great. One of the
That is
best
true.
bags. Another one of the best might be coming up. And yeah, the dinosaurs. I love the dinosaurs. I love all the artwork. It's a great production.
Hmm.
And yeah, on the Dinosaur World, which this one kind of has
A
some
little bit of
steroids here.
Yeah.
Because we did go all in on this one, versus the other two are just retail versions, at least. And this was retail at the time we got it. Like you said, you think they released it with more variable dinosaurs. Dinosaur World, we did go all in on the Kickstarter with metal coins and what else is there? Oh yeah,
It's got the metal coins. It's got
oh yeah, the screen printed dinosaurs.
yes.
Versus, I think they would just be similar to Dinosaur Island. Still different shapes for the dinos, but just regular plastic dinos without the
it's
printing.
got the. I believe it's got the shapes for every single dinosaur that there's a tile for. So
Yep.
yeah, very. That's got to be. I don't even remember how many different ones there are in there. Then.
Yeah, I forget.
But yeah, you've
quite
got
a few.
I think there's only one paddock for each type of dinosaur, and then you got I think 4 of each one of
Yep.
them. So yeah, that's really solid. And with the expansion ones too, they they're all slightly different
Yes.
colors. I think you got like a whiter one
Yep.
for like a
Kind of a
wintry.
translucent,
Mhm.
the woolly
You got
mammoth, and
a water one, which is a little blue, and then I don't remember
got
what
a
the other-
hybrid pack with
Yeah.
the
yellow.
yellow. Yep,
Yeah.
amber.
But yeah, and then these that
And
one
also has the great dice
Mhm.
in the game. And I mean, I don't know if we should include all of it, but I mean that's the version we have.
Mhm. Yeah.
'Cause I've seen pictures of, there's the coins, and the cardboard coins I would say are better in Dinosaur Island than the cardboard coins that I saw. We haven't used them, but that I saw in Dinosaur World.
Mhm.
I like them and better in Dinosaur Island.
But the metal
But
ones
the metal
are
coins
very good.
Are very good. If we are counting them, those will win out between the two.
Yes. It will probably win out over most of our games.
Yes.
Because, yeah, they're very solid and they've got the dinosaurs on them. They're really good metal coins.
Yes.
But yeah.
Oh yeah, and dual layered boards in
Oh,
both
yeah.
of these are
Mhm.
just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And actually in all 3 of these.
That is true. They've all got dual layer boards, so they don't gain anything on one another. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that and you said the bag.
Yeah, the bag was great in this one as well. Got that logo on
They know
there.
how to make some good bags.
Yes.
Pandasaurus games.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's
and
just
the
another-
artwork, you don't like the artwork on the cover as much, but I think you do like the artwork on the tiles.
Mhm.
It's kind of, it's more of the actual item
Mhm.
that it is. Like
Yeah.
the board has the whole island with the different tiles, having the
Mhm.
different buildings that they actually are. I really like the look and the color of the game.
Mhm. Yeah.
To go for 2 very
I would agree.
different looks.
Mhm.
But I think I like both of them about the same.
Mhm. Yep. And then, like we said about the insert and stuff, maybe not the greatest,
Yep.
not the worst, but
But it would work. And if you
Yeah,
were
it
getting
would.
base, I guess I don't know if retail has what kind of insert they have for
yeah,
that.
I'm not really sure.
But like without all those extra expansion tiles, I think it would fit a lot easier.
Mhm. Yeah, that is true. And like I said, only played it 3 times, so with more plays, it would maybe become an easier setup and wouldn't be
Yeah.
as overwhelming. Just kind of hard to do when
Yeah.
you're still getting used to the game,
Yeah.
because there's definitely a lot in the game.
Oh, and one negative,
Ooh.
the excitement that you mentioned.
Oh yes, I didn't write that down. That's
Go ahead.
the excitement. So each time you go to a tile, you have to show that you've. It's less exciting than the other times, and
I think
there are these little tiny markers with numbers on them. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know what it goes up to. There's a 5 here, so they're
They're about-
very small.
Let me see, they're about the size
Little
of the
bigger
surface
than
of a clicker of a pen.
cap. And you're supposed to put those on the tiles and then like be upgrade or changing them every time you go to it. So it's not like something you just place and necessarily just leave. You're gonna be maybe
Yes.
moving these around and switching them out and stuff and pulling them out. And I don't know if I have a suggestion for what could have been done differently, because it does work. It does work. It's just it's very small, and fiddly. It's hard to. It's not an easy thing to do to be changing out, and it is something that is pretty important to the game.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I mean, I haven't struggled seeing it, but it is probably the most blah component in probably all three of these games, I would say, and the smallest too.
Yeah. I would agree. But yeah, like I said, I don't know what I would have done differently.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the best option that they had to go with. But yes, I forgot
on
about
to Dinogenics presentation, and I mean, again, all three of these are phenomenal. And like this kind of was the classic worker placement, it feels a lot more classic because it has, instead of these plastic dino meeples, it goes with wooden dino meeples, which really makes the game feel different, I think.
It really does have a totally different feel to it.
Much more grounded.
And you probably, I don't know if you could guess this, but I'm thinking you probably could. And you know that I like that worker placement in the classic, a lot of classic worker placement games and wooden components.
Yes.
So you probably maybe know, which one of these I like the best in this category.
Maybe.
But maybe you don't.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe now I do.
But no, I really like, I don't know. I really like the artwork in this one because I think the artwork in this one also has more of a classic worker placement feel.
Yeah.
It just, now that you say that, it just all around does have that feel to it.
Yes.
And you've got the different, 7 different types of dinosaurs you can do or whatever. You've got the great, different colored dinosaurs for each one. They look really awesome. So this one, none of the other two do not have actual pens. They just have tiles for pens or whatever. They're hexagon tiles. This one actually has a little pen things that go into the fences that go into the board because it's double layered. And that's just really awesome.
That is huge. I love those fences.
Yes, it just makes it feel like you're actually building up the whole thing. It really gives it the feel of building the pen and actually putting them in there.
The cool feel, I'm going to compare it to Caverna again, the cool feel I get of Caverna, kind of moving the fences around and putting the animals in there, that comes across here as well, with a much better theme in my opinion. That excites me a lot more.
That 3D feel to it really makes it pop.
Yes.
Gives it that great feel. And the insert's better, I think.
Yes,
it's
for sure.
Pretty solid insert for what it is.
The bag it does have the title of the game on it, but it is smaller. It's hard to get your hand in there, and it's pretty much packed with tiles. The tiles are smaller, and I don't think the artwork is as good on, or maybe just not as flashy, which it is more of a classic feel. Not as flashy, not as colorful, but I do really like the look of the art on the dino cards.
I like that as well.
But the board is a little more blah, but it's still got enough color there to that I like it. It's kind of a similar look to Dinosaur World, where it's kind of got the island in the background of the board. Just doesn't pop quite as much as Dinosaur World, but having those fences, I think, really kind of evens the tables, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree.
I guess.
So then we give out some scores.
I mean, all of them have very high ups and a few little negatives here and there. But I would say all three of these are a 10 out of 10 production. I really enjoy all of them.
Yeah, I can see that. I did not give them all 10 out of 10.
Wow.
I only gave one a 10. But yeah, I'm going to start with Dinosaur Island, which I now give an 8.25 to. I think if I didn't have the other games, and I just had this one, it would probably be a little bit higher. But I think just that, and then just the massive amount of other games that we've had, that also seems like games these days are just getting better and better production and stuff. not that this one's dated at all. 8.25, still solid score for me. But yeah, then we get into Dinosaur World with a 9.5. It's just those couple of things like the insert and then the these tokens.
Yeah.
Just a couple dings on it, but otherwise, tons of solid stuff in it. It really could be a 10. It's especially the Kickstarter version if you have all those goodies. Definitely a 10 then. And then last but not least, Dinogenics is coming in at a 10 for me. I don't know. I'm a sucker for that. I really like the wooden pieces and how it looks on there. It just is the one that when I see it on the table, it just ends up being my favorite one. Not that it has the best stuff necessarily, because they all have really good stuff, but just something about it that I just really, really like.
Yeah.
So then we get into preference. This is kind of like
how much you pull it off the shelf and are willing to play it. Dinosaur Island. When we first got it, it was very exciting. We loved the theme, and that was the first one that we'd played with that theme. So I think we were very excited about that. But as time has gone on, it's been hard to get to the table. It is, like we said, a lot to set up, and the insert has not always been fantastic like it is now with my custom insert.
Right.
And there's a lot of things to. It's just overwhelming trying to get back to it.
Takes up a lot of table space.
Yeah.
It is. I think all of these, though, I was going to say it's a little longer, but I think they all are a little bit on the longer side, especially if you're playing, if you were to play 4 players on probably any of these games, it's getting to be quite a long game.
Yeah.
All of them. But,
yeah.
I would say we've had it quite a while now and gotten a lot of plays out of it, but we also have gotten a lot more games since then too, and it's tougher to get any game to the table. Any one game a bunch of times. So, I would agree that it's kind of fallen a little bit, but it's still one that I would definitely get to the table every now and then. To get out. But with Dinosaur World.
This is even more daunting to get to the table. But I think it's a lot fresher and a lot more exciting to get to the table, and I think there's a little more to explore in it, to where I think that kind of brings it up a little bit. I don't know what I actually put the numbers as. We'll see. Maybe I'm just.
I would 100% agree on that one. But I'd say it's still not one of the highest ones, because there are games that I am like, at any point in time, I would be like, yeah, sure, I really want to play that one.
Yeah.
And that would be my highest ones. And I'd still say at the end of the day, like you said, it's overwhelming to get to the table. And this one isn't always going to be my first one, but if I'm looking at, 5 different heavier games that take a little bit of, maybe re-looking at the rule book and setting it up, this one's going to be towards the higher end of that list. And I would say with Dinogenics, it's probably around the same area, but it is a little more approachable than the other two, I think.
I think so. I think kind of my thoughts on a lot of them are this has the most depth, Dinosaur World, but it's the hardest to actually approach. And Dinogenics, I kind of with you, it's a lot easier to get to the table and to be like, you want to play Dinogenics? Okay, we can do that. Where the other ones is like, do we have time for that? That's a lot of work, a lot of setup, very long game, and like we said, they're probably all about the same length. But it just feels longer in those other ones. But Dinogenics is a lot more approachable, easier to get to the table.
So for preference scores, I've coming in at Dinosaur Island of a 7, Dinosaur World with an 8, and Dinogenics with an 8.5.
I have 8.5 with Dinosaur Island, 9 with Dinosaur World, and 9.5 with Dinogenics. So we kind of each had the same thing, but I was kind of setting the bar a little higher.
So yeah, then we get into the last category of it factor.
I think
This one's a little tough. I was
It's-
going to give all of these a 10. I did
yeah.
not do that. But I probably could.
I gave all these a 12.
Probably could. But I think at one point, like I probably said many times, Dinosaur Island was probably a 10 because it did give that experience of running
Yes.
Dinosaur Park, which is just a really fun theme. But it's fallen a little bit now that we have some other games to compare it to. Just, I don't know that there's anything that sets it apart from a bunch of other games.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's fallen.
Yeah, I think gameplay-wise, it's probably not. Although gameplay-wise, it is very similar to Dinosaur World, but I think it doesn't stand out gameplay-wise, but theme and components and artwork, I think all three of these probably stand out, and I have them all. I guess I'll just spoil my scores. I have them all kind of at an 8.
Okay.
I think they all really capture the theme of the game and bring that to life, and that's what the it factor is for me in most games. It's just how exciting is this, and I think they all do that pretty
Right.
equally.
Yeah, and I'm having them come in at a 5, 9, and 10. So the two newer ones are right up
Yeah.
there in it factor, and still Dinosaur Island is right
Yeah.
there. I mean, it factor doesn't go into the weightedness of the score too much, but yeah, it's still 5 is still pretty good.
I think playing any of these games, you're going to be like, wow, this is just so cool. I have my own Dinosaur Park. I think that's going to come across with any of the three.
I would agree.
Yeah, and if you've been watching us, you know, actually you don't know, this is the first time I've ever done this, my Chippy comes with a silent S at the end for solo play.
Oh boy, chippies. Mine does not. I do not play solo.
I
much.
played Dinosaur Island solo a few times, and it was a while ago, so I'm not actually very prepared for this. But you kind of have, like, how many rounds is it? Or no, it's in this one it is rounds. In solo play it's rounds. Usually it's just till you get
Usually
objectives. You have like 8 objectives and like 8 rounds, and you're trying to get 1 per round. You don't want to miss a round, otherwise you're not going to be able to complete one of the objectives.
Okay.
And otherwise it's just pretty normal taking actions, and I think that's pretty cool to kind of know what objectives you want to go for early and which ones you want to set up for later. But otherwise it brings the rest of the game and gives it a pretty good solo variant. It doesn't feel like a different game or like it's changed up. So if you want to play Dinosaur Island solo, I think it does a good job at that.
Okay.
Dinosaur World is a pretty similar thing. I've only played that one once solo, and that actually introduces kind of rampaging dinosaurs where they can actually get out of the pens and move around the board, which I was like, why is this not in the main game? In my one play, it wasn't as exciting as I wanted it to be, but I'm still looking forward to exploring that more and kind of seeing how that plays out. And then Dinogenics, that one actually is more scenario based, where you can start the game with this many raptors in a pen over here and maybe this facility and do this by whatever month. And maybe it's longer months, shorter months. It's just very different from the rest, where those feel like kind of the same game but a solo variant. This one actually gives you a scenario and special objective. So of the 3, with that, it's not factored into the final score. I didn't make a whole new thing on the spreadsheet. But for solo play, I gave Dinosaur Island a 7.5, Dinosaur World a 7.75, and Dinogenics an 8.5.
Nice. Nice.
So then,
And that
brings
gets us to our
total.
final overall scores. And I've got Dinosaur Island with a 7.8.
I have Dinosaur Island with an 8.8.
Oof.
which I think is probably pretty close. I think you've cooled on it more than I have, even though we've made a whole deal ever since we did our top 50 that I've cooled on Dinosaur Island.
Right.
Almost fell out.
That's true, and it's coming up. It's coming up shortly, so we'll have to see if it fell out or not. I don't know.
I don't know if I've played it.
We'll see if there's 2 other Dino games in your top 50. But then we go to Dinosaur World, and I've got an 8.3, so edging the other one out by a 0.5, edging out Dinosaur Island, that is.
And I think this is where history comes into play, because this
yep.
is actually less than Dinosaur Island. It's at an 8.5 for Dinosaur World, which, I mean, surprised me, but looking at a 9 history versus a 3 history, even though it's not the most heavily weighted category, that is still quite a big difference.
Yeah.
And I put that at like a 10 to see what it was, and it actually ended up being a 9.2. So it would bump it up quite a bit, playing it more.
And then Dinogenics, I've got it at an 8.4, so it's 0.1 higher than Dinosaur World.
And I have Dinogenics at an 8.8, so that is actually tying Dinosaur Island, both ahead of World by 0.3.
And they'd be about the same if you had played them 10 times apiece, probably.
Because, I had played Genix 3 times more than World, so that pretty much evens it up, I would say.
But yeah, I think mine are probably about right how I'd rank them, but I think I'd go back and forth on Dinogenics and Dinosaur World. Like you kind of said, I think Dinosaur World has the most depth to it and the most... you can kind of play it differently each time as to what you're doing exactly, what you're working on. If you're doing a lot of Jeeble tours or whatever dinosaurs you're going for, if you're going for herbivores or carnivores or whatnot. But yeah, I think something about the classic worker placementness of Dinogenics just gets me.
I think it looks the most classic, but it's probably also the most chaotic of the 3, which is kind of weird. You would think these big colorful ones would be just chaos, rolling dice, and rampaging, but I'd say that one probably feels maybe the least actual.
Right, because you're rolling that when they rampage or whatever, you're rolling that die and you have a very low chance of not getting something bad to happen.
Yes. And Tom Vessel says, it's pretty easy to avoid, but watch our playthrough and we'll see it go about as horribly as it can possibly go for one of us.
And I think there was a point where I could have done something differently that would have made it a little bit better. It still wouldn't have been good, but yes. Yeah. But yeah, I think it is easy to manage, like, to know so that you don't ever have to actually roll the die. But once you're rolling the die, then it's not so easy.
Yes.
Type thing. So. Yeah, so
that brings us to just 8 to 9s for me. And you're having Dinosaur Island at just under an 8.
I've got 3 for history, so they're going to be up at the upper 8s.
So 9. Just very solid games, I would say, for all 3 of these. If you want something more approachable and maybe a little more chaotic, maybe a little more take that, I think Dinogenics would probably be the best fit for you. If you want something just a little deeper, a little more maybe long-term planning and setting things up, I think Dinosaur World is probably the winner there. And Dinosaur Island, it's just, I don't know, it's just a little less than Dinosaur World in a lot of ways. But also, maybe that's what could help it. If you don't quite want as much as this gives you, then I think that would also be a good option.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's very hard if you haven't played either one to really know which one would be for you. But I could see if you don't want a ton more strategy and thinking and planning to your game, I think then this one's going to be much, much better than this. I think this will be too overwhelming. But I think you're still going to get a solid gaming experience with that one. With, like you said, any of the 3. I think it really comes down to preference and stuff. Or, I would say look into any of them or look into them more, whichever one you're most interested in, but I would say that I would recommend getting any one of the three.
Yes.
And I don't know, would you own all three?
Well, we do own all three, so if I
We
say
do.
no, I'd be a hypocrite. I don't know if you do. I just think these are possibly too similar that you don't need to own all three. I think Dinogenics and one of these two I
Are
would,
different enough
I
that
would
you could.
recommend. And, I mean, I have no problem having all three. But I think you could have a preference between these two and probably be good with just that one.
I would 100% agree, because, yeah, it's not like this one's all of a sudden, like, an hour plus longer than this one, so it's not like, oh, well, we're going to play that one because we want a little bit of a shorter game. They both are pretty long games, so, yeah. Just comes down to preference.
Yes.
So, yeah, that is all of our thoughts on those 3 Triceratops games. Yeah, if you've made it this far, definitely give the video a like if you've liked it. Otherwise, we're very grateful for you listening along with us. Yeah, if you want to see our other dinosaur videos, check out the channel. We're going to have a bunch of them. We're going to also have a ranking of all the dinosaur games we've played, so along with these 3, which...
Yeah,
I don't want to spoil it too much, but I'm guessing they're going to be maybe towards the top, but
maybe
there's a few other ones we've got. So
these are definitely the 3 biggest.
They are the 3 biggest. They're the table hogs. I don't know if we really said it, but Dinogenics is also a very big table hog. All 3 of them are.
Yes.
So, yeah. Otherwise, we hope to see you on the next video. And as always, don't forget to
keep on nibbling
on our content.